Good morning, students. Today we are going to study chemistry, and you all might have purchased your books. So, this is the book for chemistry which is there in your syllabus, that is The Science Orbit by Raja Lakshmi Krishna Iyer and Dr. R.L. Madan. So, let us now begin with the first chapter of this book. Starting with the first lesson, that is Introduction to Chemistry. Now, what is chemistry, children? Chemistry is the study of substances, composition, its making, its properties, everything we learn in chemistry. So, first we are going to study about chemistry, its meaning and its importance. Now, in Hindi, children, we call chemistry as Rasa Shastra. Rasa means essence and Shastra means science. Rasa Shastra means the science of the essence of matter. Okay? All matter, living and non-living, is composed of 5 elements. And what are these 5 elements? Air, water, earth, fire and sky. All these in turn are made up of atoms. Now anything, all the matter which you find on this earth, children, it is made up of very small particles which we call as atoms. Okay? Thus we can say chemistry is a branch of science that is concerned with material and the transformations they undergo. In chemistry we study about the preparation, properties and uses of wide variety of compounds. Now chemistry, children, is found everywhere in this world. Whether you eat something, whatever you are eating, whatever you are wearing, or if the water which you are drinking, the air which we breathe, it all consists of chemistry. Many more things like medicines, insecticides, fertilizers, they are all a part of chemistry. Now chemistry, children, it is also known as central science. Now why do we call it as central science? We call it as central science because it connects the other sciences such as biology, physics, geology and environmental science to each other. So that is why we call it as central science. Now let's see development of chemistry. Now how the chemistry was developed. Now chemistry, it has been around us, children, from the ancient time. And earlier it was known as metallurgy. It was most used, you can say, in metallurgy, especially in the form of alchemy and in finding the elixir of life. Now, what is alchemy, children? The technique of converting one metal into another is called alchemy. And the person who does this, the person who practices alchemy, is called an alchemist. So, an alchemist is also called a chemist, you can say. Alchemist was also called a chemist. And later the suffix was added, that is ry, and we got the name as chemistry. In ancient days, scientists worked hard to discover a technique for converting basic metals into gold. So there were techniques in which they used to convert the you can say the low grade metals into gold, and they used a stone which they named as philosopher's stone. Okay. Now this stone, it was supposed to change any metal into gold or silver, and according to some, to cure diseases and prolong life. Chemistry was then largely used to obtain elixir of life. Now what is this elixir of life? Elixir of life means, children, that the person will be immortal. The person will never die if he has the elixir of life. So scientists don't leave anything, any stone unturned. That is, they found an elixir that gives them immortality. Although they could not succeed in all this, these all practices proved to be false. Then They were successful to some extent in developing a process to extract metals and prepare alloy. They also used secret codes and symbols which later translated to the modern representation of elements and compounds. So chemistry, children, it was also associated with black magic because people used to use the chemicals and convert the things. They used to be reactions between two different kinds of salts. So they used to show it as black magic. Okay. The development, then came the modern scientific methods which led to the modern chemistry. So these modern scientific methods, they were much better than the earlier scientific methods, and chemistry began emerging among early chemists, beginning with the 9th century chemist Jabir ibn Hayyan, known as Gibber in Latin, who is known as the father of early chemistry. So he was Jabir Ibn Hayyan was known as the father of early chemistry. Okay. Now children, we are going to learn about some of the scientists who have given their contribution in chemistry by discovering different things. Let us start first with Antony Lavoisier. Now Antony Lavoisier, he was born in 1743 till 1794. Now Lavoisier was the first who discovered that air is a mixture of gases, and he isolated nitrogen and oxygen in two different processes. He gave the name azote to nitrogen as it was found to be inactive. That is why he named it as azote. He published methods of chemical nomenclature. What is chemical nomenclature, children? The rule of naming chemical compounds that we call as chemical nomenclature. He stated the law of conservation of mass. So these were his, you can say, the discoveries or his contribution to chemistry. Now next we move on to the second scientist, that is Henry Cavendish. Henry Cavendish, he was born in 1731 to 1810. Henry Cavendish, he isolated hydrogen from the residual air left after the separation of nitrogen and oxygen from liquefied air. Henry Cavendish, he made a systematic study of hydrogen, its properties and uses. He named the isolated gas hydrogen in Latin, which means water generating, because hydrogen is found in water also. Okay, so that is why it is named as water generating. It was he who found that water is a compound of hydrogen and oxygen. Next we move on to John Dalton. He was born in 1766 and lived till 1854. So his contribution was that he gave the atomic theory, which was called as John Dalton's atomic theory, and his theory summarized that matter is made up of indivisible particles called atoms. Atoms can neither be created nor destroyed. The atoms of the same elements are alike and the atoms of different elements are different. Atoms combine to form molecules. The atoms of different elements combine in whole number ratio to form compounds. So these were the postulates of John Dalton. He told about the atom, that atoms can neither be indivisible, atoms you cannot create them and you cannot destroy them. Atoms, they combine together to form molecules. Okay, so this is how he gave the theory. These are some of the scientists, you can see the picture, who gave their contribution to chemistry. Next we move on to Louis Pasteur. Louis Pasteur, he was born in 1822 and lived till 1895. Louis Pasteur, he was a French chemist and he was responsible for the discovery of a method which is called pasteurization. Now what is pasteurization? You all might have heard about this method. This method is used to kill pathogenic bacteria in the food so that the food is safe for us to eat and drink. Okay. This method, pasteurization, is also used for pasteurizing the milk. The milk packets which we bring home, they are pasteurized by this method only. Then next is Dmitry Mendeleev. He was born in 1834 and lived till 1907. Dmitry Mendeleev, A Russian scientist was the first to classify existing elements according to their properties. Okay, he was the one who gave the periodic table, and he is considered as the father of the periodic table. Next, we move on to Har Gobind Khurana. He was born in 1922 and lived till 2011. Har Gobind Khurana was an Indian-American biochemist, and he also won the Nobel Prize for his research. What did he do? He researched that nucleotides in nucleic acids, which carry the genetic code of the cell, it controls the cell's synthesis of protein. This was his discovery. Now here you can see, children, a table is given which is showing some more of the discoveries of the scientists. So you have to read this and learn this up. This is very important. Okay. Now we move on to application of chemistry in our day-to-day life. Now in our day-to-day life, children, chemistry has played a very important role. From the delicious food we eat to the colorful clothes that we wear. Chemists around the world are working on a daily basis to manufacture various products, like maintaining the highest standards, from metallic paints for cars, coating for compact disc, to the latest fragrance of a perfume. Chemistry has played very important role in many fields around us, like in the food. In food, chemistry is very important. It plays a very important role. Let us see how. Now, food that we eat, children, it contains many nutrients in it. These nutrients are carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins and minerals. These nutrients, they are composed of various chemicals, like in carbohydrates we have starch and sugar. Protein, it is made up of amines, and fats, they are made up of lipids. These fats, they are also composed of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. So this is how chemistry is related with the food that we eat. Chemistry has also played a very important role in food preservation. Earlier, the food were preserved by using natural methods, like for example, using salts, using oil like in pickles, using drying method, using smoking. All these methods were used previously to preserve food, even the fermentation method. But now modern techniques have come. With the help of chemistry, we can preserve food by canning, pasteurization, freezing, and by adding chemical preservatives. Louis Pasteur was the scientist who gave the method pasteurization. By this method or by this process, we protect the milk from spoilage. Preservation is a technique, children, which protects the food from getting spoiled or from getting deteriorated in its quality. But that cannot be done for a longer period of time. Now, certain chemical preservatives which are used are benzoic acid and sodium benzoate. They are basically used for preserving fruits and vegetables. Then pectin powder is another chemical which is used to preserve jams and jellies. You all might have heard about vinegar, which is also a chemical which is used to preserve sauces and pickles. Chemistry has also played a very important role in food processing. Now, what is food processing? Food processing is the technique by which we make different kinds of food, by filtering them, by cleaning them. All this is involved in food processing. Now, let us start with some of the food which are processed. Some of the foods which are processed are sugar, salt, vegetable oil, tea, coffee. Starting with sugar. Sugar is prepared from sugarcane juice using chemical processes such as filtration, evaporation, decolorization, with animal charcoal, crystallization and drying. So all these methods, they are involved in preparation of sugar. That is why sugar is known as processed food. Then next we have salt. Salt is also processed food. We obtain it from seawater. We collect the seawater and evaporate it. When the water is evaporated, the left behind part is known as the sea salt, and that we collect and convert it into salt. Vegetable oil. Vegetable oil is extracted from oil seeds by a process which is known as steam distillation. Coffee beans, berries are dried, roasted, powdered, and then packed in the form of a coffee powder. So these are some of the processed foods. Now, chemistry has also played a very important role in agriculture. Chemistry has played an important role in agriculture by increasing the food production, and this food production can be increased by use of fertilizers. Now, the fertilizers are of three types basically: potash fertilizer, potassium rich fertilizer, and nitrogen rich fertilizers. These fertilizers, children, they are added to the soil and they make the soil more fertile, which helps in increase of the crop yield. Plants can obtain nitrogen, potassium and phosphorus from these fertilizers. Then there are certain pesticides and insecticides also which are used. Pesticides are, for example, malathion and copper sulfate. These are the common pesticides which are used in the you can say agriculture to kill pests. Pests are those animals which eat away our crops. So this chemical, that is malathion and copper sulfate, they kill the pests. Then we have some insecticides which are used for killing the insects. They are malathion and bordox mixture. They help to protect the crop from insects. Now, chemistry has played a very important role in cosmetics also. Now, cosmetics, children, you all might have seen your mothers grooming themselves with various kinds of creams, moisturizers, lotion, kajal, glimmer, lipstick, nail polish, sunscreen. These are all a gift of chemistry. Even your soap, your detergents, they are all perfume, shampoo, deodorants. They are all a gift of chemistry in cosmetics. So let us see some of the essential ingredients which are used in cosmetics. First is thickeners. Now these thickeners are commonly used for making skincare products. And what is their work? Their function is to enhance stability and the overall performance of the cosmetic. Some of the common thickeners are stearic acid, carnauba wax, gum. These are the natural substances which are used as thickeners. Then there are certain minerals also like silica gel, magnesium, aluminium silicate, which are used in cosmetics as thickeners. Then next is moisturizers. Moisturizers, they prevent the water loss from the skin, and the chemicals which are used are beeswax, olive oil, glycerol, petroleum jelly. They are commonly used in moisturizers. Then we have glimmers. Glimmers are those substances which add sparkling shine to your body or to your skin. They are made up of mica flakes mixed with titanium dioxide as a popular glimmer. Then we have sunscreens. Sunscreens are those creams or lotions which protect your skin from the harmful sun rays. In this we have titanium dioxide, and this titanium dioxide, it blocks the ultraviolet light and has a strong absorbing capacity. Titanium dioxide, children, is also present in nail paints as well as in lip colors. Then you have kajal. Kajal is made by mixing lamb black with butter. Lamb black, what is lamb black? That is the kalik which you get, the soot which you get. Okay, that is called lamb black. This is mixed with butter and then you get kajal. Then talcum powder, it has magnesium carbonate and zinc oxide present in the form of chemical in it. Chemistry has played a very important role in clothing also. That is, whatever clothes we wear, they are a gift of chemistry. Now there are some fibers which are natural and some fibers which are handmade. The natural fibers are like cotton, linen, flax, silk and wool. They are used for making clothes. Here we do not use any artificial things for making clothes, but of course the processes are used for making the fibers more refined and more shiny. Then the artificial or the man-made fibers, they are like nylon, trilene, polyester. They are made artificially by adding some of the chemicals in it. Now synthetic fibers or the artificial fibers, they are much stronger than the natural fibers and they last longer. Synthetic fibers, they are wrinkle resistant, They are easy to handle. Synthetic fibers, they have some disadvantage also, and the disadvantage is that they catch fire easily. They melt and stick to the body of the person whoever is wearing it. So it is advisable not to wear these synthetic clothes while cooking. So this is how the chemistry has played great importance in clothing. Then chemistry has played a very important role in medicines also. Now, what are medicines, children? Medicines are those substances which are used to cure, treat, or prevent diseases. And these medicines are basically obtained either from plants or animals or prepared by using chemicals. Now, here are some of the medicines which are used commonly by us. First is antibiotics. Antibiotics are those chemical substances which stops the growth or kills the bacteria, the viruses, microorganisms which enter inside our body and cause diseases. Some of the common antibiotics are penicillin. This is one of the best known antibiotic and it was invented by Alexander Fleming. Then we have some more, that is amoxicillin, nafcillin and ticarcillin. Ampicillin is also an antibiotic. So these antibiotics are basically applied either on the skin in the form of topical solutions or they can be taken orally. Then we have analgesics. These analgesics are the chemicals which reduces the pain in our body and they are aspirin and paracetamol. Then we have some antipyretics. Antipyretics are used for reducing fever. The example is paracetamol again and aspirin. Then we have antiseptics. Antiseptics are chemicals which are used to prevent the growth of microorganism on the wounds. Wounds are the open part of the body, children, or the open sore you can say. So this antiseptic kills the bacteria over there, the viruses over there, and the antiseptics, common antiseptics are turmeric and neem leaves. Tincture of iodine is also an antiseptic. Then we have antacids. Antacids are those chemicals which neutralize the excess acids produced in our body. And the example is milk of magnesia or Gelusil. You all might be keeping it at home also, might be having it when you get acidity in your stomach. Mint is also an antacid and that is a natural antacid. Then we move on to antihistamines. Antihistamines are those medicines which cure or prevent allergic reactions. And the example is Belastin and Cetirizine. They are some of the common antihistamines. Next we move on to chemicals in industries. Now industry is also one of the largest area where chemicals are used. First we are going to see in agro-industry. In agro-industry, children, there are various kinds of chemicals used and there are various industries also associated in agro-industry and they are paper industry, sugar industry, cotton industry, jute industry, rubber industry. So they use all these things as a raw material. Then we have some mineral industries also like coal, petroleum. They convert the raw material into many useful chemicals. So let us start with some of the important chemical compounds which are prepared in the chemical industry. Starting with plaster of Paris. Plaster of Paris is manufactured by heating calcium sulfate dihydrate to 120 degrees Celsius. And the temperature over here matters a lot because if the temperature increases, then we will not get plaster of Paris, but instead we will get something else. So it should be heated at 120 degrees Celsius. This plaster of Paris is used for casting statues and surgical plasters. Next we have cement. Cement is also a very common chemical, children, which is used for making different buildings, factories, different kinds of concrete structures, plastering, for painting. It is also used for tanks, tunnels, docks, harbors, for making telephone posts, for making garden seats. All these things are made up of cement, and cement itself is made up of gypsum, limestone and clay. All these three things are mixed together in a rotary kiln. So all these things, when they are mixed together and heated, they form cement. Next we move on to glass industry. Now this glass, children, it is prepared, it is basically made up of silicates and it is made by using limestone, soda ash and sand. The glass so obtained is the common glass which is known as soda glass. Now We have different types of glasses. These different types of glasses I am going to read before you, how they are prepared and where they are used. Now first, starting with soda glass or soda lime glass. It is prepared by heating sodium carbonate and silica, and it is basically used for making window panes, tablewares, bottles and bulbs. Then we have colored glasses. These colored glasses, they have color in them, and this color is given to them by using metallic oxides of different salts. These metallic oxides of different salts, they provide different color to the glass. That is why they are known as colored glasses. These colored glasses are basically used for decorating wall, making sunglasses, making light signals for automobiles, trains and aeroplanes. Then we have plate glass. Plate glass is thicker than ordinary glass. It has a very smooth surface and it is used in shop windows and doors. Then we have safety glass. Safety glass is made by fusing a plastic sheet between two thick glass sheets, and it is also called shatterproof glass. This shatterproof glass is basically used in automobiles, you can say, and they have a bulletproof screen. They are used in bulletproof screen as well. Then we have laminated glass. Laminated glass is also called bulletproof glass. It is much stronger than the safety glass and it is used in aeroplanes and in the windshields of the car. Then we have optical glass or flint glass. These are softer than any other glass and they are basically used in our prism, the lenses which are put, and the optical instruments. Then we have Pyrex glass. Pyrex glass is highly heat resistant. Laboratory equipments and ovens are made of Pyrex glass. Then we have photochromatic glass. Photochromatic glasses are those glasses which become darker when exposed to bright light, and when exposed to bright light they become dark, and in the shade they lose their darkness, that is they become light in color. These are called photochromatic glasses. Then we have lead crystal glass. Lead crystal glass, it sparkles and is used for high quality art objects and for expensive glassware. So these are all the different types of glasses. Now we move on to next, that is soaps and detergents. These soaps and detergents, children, they are also made up of chemicals. And what is their work? Their work is to remove the dirt from our clothes, the grease or the dust, whatever is there on our clothes, that is removed with the help of this soap. Now how do these soaps act? Cleaning action of the soap. These soap, the molecules of the soap, they form a arrangement around the dirt. That is, they form a chain-like arrangement around the dirt, and this arrangement is called a micelle. The micelle entraps the dirt particles when agitated. The micelle moves away, carrying the dirt along with them. So as the micelle moves far from the stain, the dirt also moves away with the soap. This is the cleaning action of soap. Plastic. Plastic has greatly replaced metal and wood in the industry everywhere around yourself. You might have seen that nowadays plastic is commonly used. Some common plastics which we use are PVC, that is polyvinyl chloride, bakelite, melamine, polythene, acrylic and mine polyesters. These are plastics which are used for making different things like utensils, containers, hoses, automobile parts. They are all made up of plastic. The present age, children, is also known as plastic age because nowadays we use lot of plastic. But plastic has its own disadvantage also. Plastic is a non-biodegradable product and it can cause adverse health effects in long run. That is, it is very harmful for our health. Plastic is basically of two types, that is thermoplastic and thermosetting plastic. Thermoplastics are the plastics which are melted and then they can be molded into new objects again and again. That is, we can use them again and again. For example, PVC, that is polyethylene, nylon, trilene, etc. Then we have thermosetting plastic. Thermosetting plastics are those plastics which when heated they melt and set into a hard mass on cooling. So these are used in making insulating handles for cooking utensils, pressure cookers and Body parts of electrical appliances. Some examples of thermosetting plastics are bakelite and melamine. You might have seen the electric plug that is made up of bakelite, a kind of plastic which is a thermosetting plastic. Next we move on to paints. Now paints are, children, basically made up of oxides of zinc, magnesium and aluminium. They are mixed in a suitable solvent and some coloring pigments are added into it so that it can provide different colors to the paints. Now paints, they are basically used for decorating our house. Earlier paints were made using lead sulfate and lead peroxide, but nowadays the paints which we use now do not contain lead in it because it causes nerve related diseases. Paints are of two types, water soluble and water insoluble. Water insoluble paints are mixed using turpentine oil and spirit into it. Next we move on to enamels. Enamels are highly glossy paints and they are oil based paints. They are basically used to color metals, walls, etc. Then we move on to dyes. Now what are dyes? Dyes are made up of colored pigments. These colored pigments, they are either chemicals or they can be obtained naturally. The chemicals which are used as dye are alizarin red and indigo blue. The dyes can be extracted from vegetables also, like beetroot and some of the flowers. Then salts of iron, aluminium and chromium, they are also used as dye. Dye is basically used for coloring clothes, for coloring hair and skin as well. Next we move on to silicones. Now silicones, they are commercially important class of polymers that can be synthesized by hydrolysis of suitably functioned silicon derivatives. That is, silicon derivatives, when they are mixed with water, when they are hydrolyzed, they get converted into silicones. Silicones are water repelling in nature. They have high thermal stability and dielectric strength. That is why they are used in aircrafts and spacecraft assembly and maintenance, as they can withstand high stress and temperature extremely. They are also used in building construction. They are used as silicone sealants, adhesives and coating material for making buildings and construction material. They are also used in cookwares. They make bakewares and cookwares. More sturdy, convenient, easy to use and long lasting when made with silicone rubber. Silicones are also used in wide range of car parts. Many parts of the car, they are made up of silicone, like airbags, engine gaskets, headlamps, hydraulic bearings, ignition cables and radiator seals and hoses, shock absorbers, spark plug, boots and ventilation flaps. These are all the parts of a car, children. And these parts which are present in the car, they are all made up of silicone. So here I end with my video. Along with the video, there is a PDF attached for the exercises given in the book. Thank you.